welcome everybody to the Daily Cheat Sheet. And due to technical difficulties, Golan being in Israel and it being 4 in the morning, this is going to be one of our shorter shows, considering I have to do back-to-back recordings with the great iconoclast and icon Benjamin Jeremy Stein. Golan, just to remind everybody, follow us, subscribe, Rumble, YouTube, every downloading, streaming platform imaginable. Greatly helpful. Also, give us that 5-star review. Going right away, I wanted to just get into this Mamdani thing in New York. I think it's extremely important to talk about. Uh, you're witnessing a blitz right now on him that appears to be working. That appears to generally be working. The early vote is in Cuomo's favor, and it makes you wonder why the hell did it take them this long to go on this blitz?
It's a great question. I was talking about it tonight with a group of people I was with. It seems like everything, if you look on social media, everything suddenly is here's a video of him talking about how socialism is lonely and how difficult it has been for him, and how the easiest thing he can do is compare it to Palestinianism and lie about everything while finding a scapegoat. In this case, the scapegoat being the Jews. It works out. That's how you'll make people appreciate socialism. And then the next video comes out and it's him saying, hey, the NYPD puts their boot on your neck and it's laced up by the IDF. And the next video, it's just a nonstop onslaught. And I thought, isn't the voting happening now? How did this moment become the moment you all woke up and decided to fight back in the correct way? What, you couldn't find these videos before? You couldn't do all this stuff? But okay. I'm not going to second guess right now that it's happening. It is happening. But better late than never, I guess, to quote Ghostbusters 2. But I think that Zoran Mamdani finally found the one thing that could bring him down, and it's his mouth and his beliefs. So hopefully enough people are listening now that the reality is Cuomo was able to eke out a victory.
And I just want to say for the record, 60% of Jews are not voting for Mamdani. Only 16% are supposedly, which is an outstanding number. So please, no blaming this one on the Hebes. We are not supporting him. Well, 16%
We're
are. You could
allowed to
blame.
say that, by the way, because we are the Hebes. But also, I want to point out that the people who are voting for him, those Jews that are voting for him, are very similar to the Jews that are showing up in his commercials, the Mandy Patinkins of the world. There is a word for these Jews. Uh, it is capo. Capo, the Jews who helped the Nazis out during the Holocaust, only to discover that, oopsie, even when you help out the devil, you don't get exempt from him then going ahead and doing the thing he wanted to do to you to begin with, because all of the capos ended up in the mass graves and they ended up in the gas chambers and they ended up in the firing lines, just like all the rest of them did. The only thing they did first was sell out their own kind. And in the same way that right now we're watching a bunch of Jewish people sell out their kind for a candidate who refuses to recognize Israel as a Jewish state, who supports jihad and supports globalizing the Antifada and all the other stuff. You guys are not going to be exempt if he comes into power. So you may as well try to prevent it instead of trying to hold the hand of those who would destroy you.
I can't believe I'm going to have to correct you a little bit on this
Oh,
because
please do.
many capos joined. They were from street gangs. These were brutal people. Many of these capos that didn't get exterminated. They ended up getting killed by Jews as the camps were freed. They ended up getting killed by the Jews that they were. You know, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Beating the crap out of for however long. So those capos, there's a myth with this, with the capos. A lot of them actually volunteered to do this. This wasn't they were handpicked and they actually had trials during the Nuremberg trials. And they're all very hush hush about the capos because they didn't know exactly what to do with them, and some of them were executed.
Well, you're talking
So
about the during the liberation period, you're talking about the capos that remained capos throughout the entire war. By the way, the capos were also prisoners, so it's not like suddenly they were given everything. But yes, those capos that made it through the entire war were usually immediately executed by the other prisoners, and sometimes there were these kind of spontaneous makeshift trials and all of that. But you are talking about a smaller faction. Ultimately, the Nazis at the time still saw the capos as Jews, because guess what? That's what they were, and were ultimately, quote unquote, punished like all the rest of them were the minute they were no longer useful. So yes, there were some that were executed there. There were some that somehow to sneak out, made it back to their hometown, and then were killed by the kind citizens in Poland or what have you. Because just like today, when we're looking at how many Gazans actually, or even those in Judea and Samaria, support Hamas, and it is staggering and overwhelming. So we can go ahead and dispel the myth of the kind
Well,
Palestinian
why
that
don't
just
you
wants
read some?
peace.
Why don't you read some of those numbers, because these are extremely staggering numbers, like you said, shocking, and it's 86%
That
of
yeah.
it's 86% that believe Hamas was justified for October 7th, and it's also like 86% that don't believe that the atrocities that occurred. So, so anybody that thinks there's going to be a connect, no, it's a disconnect. And the people there still want Hamas rule. They still
You're
want is
talking about this poll that literally just came out. What was it, yesterday or the day
yeah.
before yesterday? It's the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research. Okay, and overwhelmingly, not only do they support Hamas, but they are satisfied with Hamas's performance. The amount of Palestinians, I put in quotes, Palestinians, and that means Gazans and those in Judea and Samaria, aka the West Bank, they the approval rating of those people for Hamas has gone up significantly since the war began. Right? So you're talking about massive numbers, massive jumps of people that would vote for them today, overwhelmingly, by the way, over Fatah, over other people, are proud of them, think October 7th was a great idea, think that the support for them has gone up since October 7th, over and over and over again. The support has skyrocketed, and it was already incredibly high. So it tells you everything you need to know. These are the peace-loving people that we are meant to live next to. And when you're talking about approaching 90% approval rating, and you think there's still something to talk about, there is not.
Well said. And just to get back to Mamdani for a second,
Hmm.
because I think the bigger picture is this, is I actually do think there's a chance that Cuomo could win. It's all about the numbers.
It's
It's
all
all
about the
about
numbers.
stop reading the poly markets that have them at 90%, because it's not 90% right now.
But
And I get that Eric Adams isn't, I mean, that Sliwa is not dropping out,
right.
but the biggest numbers indicators of the early voting. Cuomo seems to be doing very well with early voting, and all of a sudden this massive ad blitz. And I keep on wondering though, go on. Were people not investigating this before? These videos were open. His father, everything about this person's life is a
This is
sham.
this is what I really don't understand. I don't understand how it took them this long. I mean, I know that they brought in a friend of mine, Zach, to be the guy who was doing social media work on the campaign, and he's brilliant at it. But bringing him in should not have been like he's a younger guy. He's very good at savvy when it comes to social media and all of that. That can't be enough to say, hey, these videos we got, should we use them? Nah, it seems like it's a little incendiary. Like, why would they wait until this moment? By the way, you mentioned Polymarket. I just want to point something out. I don't have the evidence for this. This is the theory that's been posited, but there was an actual report recently that flagged that a lot of the top wallets that were backing Mamdani on Polymarket were coming in from China and Iran, as well as Qatar and some other places. They said that over 40% of the market was using what's it called, cryptocurrency, in order to bet on him. And the reason they did that, it's something that now you're watching the betting markets, because Polymarket is a betting market essentially, and you're watching these betting markets be manipulated. Why is that happening? I want our audience to really hear this, because Watch this when it comes to our own presidential elections and everything else in between. Imagine if you are watching a race, let's just use Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, right? And you're a Trump supporter and you're like, I can't wait to go to the thing and to vote and do the whole thing. I'm so excited about it. You go on Polymarket and you see Kamala is just destroying Trump. It's at 85%. There's no chance in hell he can catch up. Your vote won't make a difference. Nobody's will at this point. It's a done deal. Just stay home, right? That's what happens is you think I may as well not even bother.
Well, it's voter
And
suppression.
it's voter suppression by it's a psyop by psychological means. So imagine if China, Iran, and Qatar go into Polymarket and are betting. It looks like Mamdani is going to run away with this thing. It was showing at one point 88% on there. So when you see
was
that
actually
and
at
you're
90. It was actually at like 90.8% or
so it went up since
90.2%.
I looked at it. So imagine now if you're a Como voter, you're like, man, what's the point? I'm not even going to bother. That's the idea. Is that way they suppress your vote and everyone else who believes the poly market thing, and now suddenly Mamdani has a chance of winning. So it's just more manipulation. Be aware of it. Don't fall for it.
Well said and well done. And moving on a little bit to this Jack Smith thing. Uh, I want to say, I mean, for people for not familiar with Jack Smith or don't remember, we always have to remind people of who people are, but he was the special prosecutor going
Especially when your
after.
name is as generic as Jack Smith.
But he doesn't look generic. He looked psychotic. You know what I mean? He looks like he like if his face showed up on the most wanted list, you'd be like, yeah, yeah, he's not the guy, the quiet neighbor. He's the guy that you see if in the old days when you go into the post office and see their face on. I mean that he literally
Where the
looks like
kids get scared looking at the wanted posters.
that's exactly right. This guy went after everybody. He had everybody in his sights in the Republican Party. I think every single Republican was in his line of sight going.
I think that's exactly right. And by the way, this is a guy who, similar to some other things that you're talking about, by the way, just for our audience to understand, it's the FBI files have come out that basically show that Jack Smith was in, let's just call it indiscriminately going after anybody you could possibly imagine. Right? Any Republican within the political apparatus was a target for this guy. I don't want to say arbitrary because it wasn't. It was just attack any Republican you possibly can. So you're talking about, I think it was
197 subpoenas
there
issued
you
by
go.
Smith as part of Arctic Frost
But it was targeting
Probe.
like 430 Republicans or people or companies or individuals or businesses or whatever it is, but just nonstop. It was just this law
34,
enforcement.
34, and 34 individuals, 163 businesses, including financial institutions.
But it was more than that because that was
Yeah,
the
no, no.
initial.
The subpoena requested records and communications related to over 430 individuals and organizations.
That's
Think
it.
about that.
That's it. That's the number that I
430.
was thinking of.
Yeah.
And it basically just smells like just this law enforcement like fever dream where you're like, I'm gonna do a wide open dragnet over anything that has the letters G, O, or P in it. Let's go. It's the probe that they're doing now that kind of revealed this. It's called Arctic Frost, right? And it went after the metadata of all these Republican senators, representatives, et cetera, but not of the content of the calls. Right? You're talking about where they called, when they called. You're tracking locations. You're into like deep surveillance territory. So just basically insane stuff. It makes Watergate look like nothing at all, and Watergate kind of was nothing at all. So now you're taking something that people are using. I mean, if you think about like everything becomes blah 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 gate because Watergate is the ultimate infraction now, according to everybody. This makes Watergate look like nothing. So the fact that this is also they're trying real hard to blow this off on the other side is hypocrisy of the highest order.
Well, I mean, I want you to think about this for a second because this is why you can't talk logic with the left, right? This all goes back to the no kings thing, right? The most ridiculous thing in the world. So we as conservatives got so tired and turned off by what the overreach after 9/11 with home, with tapping our phones and doing all these things. None of us wanted this. That was, I mean, that really was a massive rebuke. It's something in a sense Trump sort of ran on, and especially him being wiretapped. And then you had Mike Lee fighting this. So conservatives or MAGA or whatever you want to call people were able to look at a certain situation and say, whoa, they really went with the FISA courts and all that stuff. We really went too far. This has to stop. This
Right.
government overreach has to stop. You're never going to get the same thing from the left, even when you put this in front of them. We're actually showing there's so much evidence of them being, I don't even want to say a king, but a dictator.
Well,
Uh,
that's what I was going to point out is you're talking about no kings. You're right. I hadn't thought of the connection there, but it's really interesting because you are talking about the difference between someone who is just throwing things out like mandates, like a king might, right? Like making decisions with no oversight. But this is actually kind of even worse because if you give a guy and let's explain what he was doing. Jack Smith's job was to look into the quote unquote infractions or crimes or whatever you want to call it from January 6th. That was his job. Investigate January 6th.
and
So
Mar-a-Lago.
and Mar-a-Lago, but the initial thing, right, that are connected to these 430
Yeah,
people that he
is
was going
Jan
after
6th.
was
Is Jan
January
6th.
6th. January 6th, which we've talked about a lot. We already know what it was built on. We already know how many people were in the crowd that may have been part of law enforcement. All of that. Let's put all of that aside and assume he didn't know that, and it's time to investigate things. He didn't. He did not investigate things. If you think about what investigation means, it means putting together a case, looking at the evidence, etc. Instead, this guy built a dragnet, a full dragnet that scooped up donors, aides, staffers, media outlets, faith-based political groups, like anything that had the letters GOP connected to it. That is not law enforcement. That's just political warfare, right? That's just prosecution. And ultimately, when you're talking about someone saying no kings, when they are watching this kind of authoritarianism, I mean, again, I come back to the word hypocrisy because that word seems to apply more and more often to the people doing what they're doing on the left.
Listen, 100% the problem is they're never going to see this. I don't know. It's a cult, right? I mean, we see this with certain aspects of the right.
Yeah,
We see this, I brought up to you before, we have people in the MAGA movement who don't trust any news source, are rightfully so, who don't trust government agencies, rightfully
yeah.
so, don't trust big pharma, rightfully so, who don't trust much of many things, rightfully so. They've been lied to, they've been investigated, they've had their rights infringed upon. Everything that could be done to MAGA or conservatives has been done. Censored,
Okay.
everything you go on, shadow banned, everything. Yet they believe the Hamas health ministry. This has to be the wildest disconnect I've ever seen in my life. So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene walking around today saying Israel killed 46 children yesterday. Well, where'd you get your information? Gaza Health Ministry. So so this is where you draw the line in the sand. The
Well,
line in
hang
the
on,
sand.
hang on. In her defense, she wasn't getting her information from the Gaza Health Ministry. She was getting her information from her handlers in Qatar who are paying her to say these things. So be fair about it. She didn't necessarily believe this apparatus they pretend is some independent medical board. She was listening to what her handlers had handed her along with the check.
Can I ask you an honest question? I mean, this is
Sure.
where I don't always want to go all in on that. Yeah, it's very crazy how she's worth $25 million when she got into the house and she was worth $700,000. I mean, she has the best stock acumen at picking. as good if not better than Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Hmm.
Uh, so I debate with these things if it's Cutter or if she's so filled with hate and she's so filled with rage. I mean, she is hell bent on destroying or trying to destroy MAGA from within. And I know people are going to get upset with that. Somebody just said to me in a post, somebody said, "Are you Mr. Friedman? Are you America first or are you Israel for whatever it was?" And I'm like, "I'm America first. I'm just not America only."
Yeah.
And
How about
learn the
I'm not
difference.
retarded first? Well,
Yeah.
here's the question really is here's why I don't buy that she simply is full of hate. Because let's use her specifically, okay? We can talk about the others who probably fall into this category, like the Tuckers, et cetera, the names that we go over a lot of the time. But her specifically, she was very pro-Trump. In fact, that's basically how she rode herself into office, right? Was making sure that she rode this wave of specifically being like staunchly, crazily pro-Trump. Okay. Sometimes without even understanding why she was. Like she didn't understand much of what was going on a lot of the time. But she was saying all the stuff that was going to get MAGA's base inflamed in a good way, right? They were woohoo, okay, rah, rah, rah. For her to suddenly go from like overnight from saying build the wall to well, Israel needs to show some restraint, or America first, to being America only. There was a genuine shift that occurred. And when that shift occurred, it didn't occur on a couple of issues. It didn't occur occasionally. It went 100% all the time in one direction, in a direction it hadn't been going prior, right? So when you see that kind of shift, it's not even like some of these pro-Palestinians who, were radicalized on TikTok, and you can see this slow shift into idiocy, or this slow shift into supporting terrorism, or this slow shift into cheering on rapists. You don't see any slow shift when it comes to MTG. It was on Monday she had what seemed to be, if not rational, at least a pro-Trump kind of rah-rah mentality. And on Tuesday, she was just part of the Islamist PR machine, plain and simple, straight up. Everything that she said, whether it was, she's repackaging jihad as justice and terror as resistance and Israel as the enemy. It was just 100% pedal to the metal, all propaganda all the time. That's not a slow shift. That's not something that happened accidentally over time. That's not hate.
Okay. Okay, so for the people that are just tuning in, you are listening to the Daily Cheat Sheet, and I want to say something. Golan isn't doesn't often go to this place, so that's why I'm actually sort of trusting your assessment on the situation because you're able to you have a lot of moral clarity when it comes to this. But whatever is going on, whatever is going on. You actually had Qatar come out today, which is pretty odd, and say they blame the ceasefire on Hamas, which is which is actually a pretty darn big story that Qatar is
Mm-hmm.
coming out and saying this. And again, I ask people what they would do. First of all, there's 146 people didn't get killed and 46 children didn't get killed. Okay. Everybody would know that. We'd see the baby caskets. We'd see, I
Right.
mean, listen, this is the same organization that 2 days ago literally buried a body, right, into the ground, then dug up the same
On
body
camera,
on
everybody, on
camera
camera.
in front of in front of the Red Crescent, right? Red Crescent,
Yes.
and not to be confused with Red Cross, in front of the Red Crescent, and they dug up and they redug up the body. This is who this is. I mean, think about this disconnect. No, no. I mean, I really want people to think about this for a second. You don't trust anybody, yet you draw the line here. There is a massive disconnect of who you're getting that information. And the reason why we're so persistent on talking about this and repeating this is because there are far more people that are spreading this disinformation than are actually spreading information. And we hope somebody will listen to us will be able to cite the statistics, like you said, of the Gaza of Palestinians
Yeah.
supporting Islamic Jihad. These are important things that need to be highlighted.
No, look, you're 100% right when it comes to that. And when it comes to Qatar, very interesting thing is happening. I was talking about this earlier today as well. Um, uh, so you have an organization, I'm using organization as the government of Qatar in this case, who have been protecting, housing, financing, and materially supporting a terrorist organization in Hamas. Okay, so why would they come out and say something like what Judah's talking about, that Hamas is at fault for the breakdown of this ceasefire? Well, Trump put himself in a position because Trump is very strategically brilliant when it comes to this sort of thing. And even those of you who dislike Trump have to look at this and kind of be in awe at what he was able to pull off here. Was basically the Israelis had that attack, right? They went into Qatari airspace and launched a failed attack ultimately. But that failed attack also let the Qataris know and Hamas know there is no safe place for you. Israel is taking care of business. We're going in wherever we want to go, is what the Israelis said. And then Trump said, we are going to protect Qatari airspace like we would protect our own NATO allies, right? What did he do there? He gave himself leverage. He basically said to the Qataris, hey, I know that you thought you were untouchable. You're not. And the only reason that you will remain untouchable is because of me. I'm the guy that's going to make sure Israel doesn't come in and do whatever they want to do to your terrorist friends and you for supporting them. So the only safe space that existed for Hamas and for the Qataris is as a result of the kindness of Donald Trump, right? So now he has the ability to say to them, now that you know I'm the only reason that you aren't getting hammered on a daily basis, here's what we're going to do. Number one, all the live hostages, something that was an impossibility. All of them are coming out, and they're coming out in a chunk. We're not doing dribs and drabs, and we're not waiting years until finally Gilad Shalit can come out. We're just saying, give us all of them and give us all now. Remember how shocked everyone was? That's because of that leverage. Next thing that happens, senior staff at Al Jazeera, your little terrorist outlet, wipe it clean. That's what happened. The senior staff across the board was let go. Now, you also have to be careful about how quickly you make these changes because we want to make sure that the world doesn't suddenly recognize that they're a shill, right? Okay, so what does he do? I want to see your headlines change. Look at the last 6 weeks of headlines on Al Jazeera. What you'll find is, sure, occasionally there used to be only Israel, 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 genocide, genocide, just nonstop, nonstop. Half the stuff that was out there was like, according to the Al Jazeera article, because every article was about this. It's not the case for the last 6 weeks. Every once in a while, you see an article about Israel, but suddenly this article is about all sorts of other stuff. And some of them almost seem even handed oopsie gaboopsies, right? So now we're watching that leverage come to fruition as well. So when you're talking about someone like an MTG, well, it doesn't just mean, so I said Qatari money. I'm using that as a shorthand. Could be Iranian money, could be Chinese money. Right now on Polymarket, the people that are putting their thumb on the scale, China and Iran, according to the last report. So who knows who's signing the checks to MTG? But I go back to her 180 shift where she suddenly was
Yeah,
all anti-Israel all the time
it's
comes
really
with
it's
comes with a
definitely
dollar amount on it.
no, it's definitely a very wonky uh crazy thing. This is also just another crazy thing. A woman who screamed "F these cops" after purposely mowing down New York police officer handed a light sentence. She was sentenced to Sahara Dula, 25. I'm not making up that name. Was sentenced to 2 years behind bars after she admitted to intentionally plowing over an NYPD stop while driving high into oncoming traffic. So, there used to be, I mean, there's always been a rule go on. If you kill a cop, that's it. Life behind bars.
Yeah.
Uh, this is attempted murder on a New York City police officer,
And he
and she
ended up with
gets
a
two,
broken leg, right?
yeah, like got hit by a car,
I mean,
and
sure, but I mean, it
yeah,
wasn't like she. look, it wouldn't be good anyway, but it wasn't like she was so high. She was like, after cops and like missed everybody. And it's like, all right, this nut bar, no, she went in and ran a guy over with her car, broke his leg, broke the cop's leg. And they were like, eh, intentional targeting of a police officer while you're intoxicated and driving the wrong direction in traffic. 2 years. Like, you'll be fine. Judah, help me out. Help me out. What am I missing in the story that this seems like something that would be in The Onion or in the Babylon Bee as opposed to real life? What am I missing here?
It's this is something I would discuss with Ben, obviously, and have this type of discussion with Ben Stein. But what you've witnessed is what we have witnessed are reparations, right? I mean, it's reparations through the judicial system, and it's letting people that have 16, been arrested 16 times for criminal convictions released. You have people like this that are. This is in a sense reparations through the judicial system.
But when
And
they
I don't
did you read the report? Did you see why what their reasoning was for the mitigation of sentencing? Did you see that? They gave
please
they gave
go
two
for it.
reasons. One, uh-oh, mental health issues, which we talked about just this week, right? So mental health is that's not her fault. She crazy. So let's give her a lighter sentence. First of all, what? I know we talked about this before, but I just gotta say it again. If you're so crazy that your thought is I'm going to drive directly into law enforcement, what I mean, whether you're high or not high, a motor vehicle, I was taught when I was being taught how to drive a car, motor vehicle is a deadly weapon. That's why you got to be so careful when you're driving all the time. It's why you got to be responsible. It's why you got to be a certain age. So if you are so messed up that you're going to take this deadly weapon and try and use it as a lethality, you being messed up in the head is a reason to let you out earlier seems insane. Forgive to me. Number one, the other reason they gave, and maybe you can speak to this, whether you think this is right or wrong, the sympathy, the empathy, substance abuse problems. She's addicted
Okay,
to
so
something.
so so I've had first of all, it's BS. It's a BS reasoning. They're using, I mean, we both know this is BS as far as
You mean their
uh,
reason? The reasons they're giving are BS.
their reasoning, right? You find the reason and you let the person go. I mean, but again, this is reparations, and uh, no more, no less. And you find reverse discrimination. Look at Trump with 94 convictions. That's reverse discrimination.
You're
That's
right.
that was racism every second of the day from Alvin Bragg and Letitia James. Here's my thing on that, because I have thought about this a lot as a sober person. I know that's why you're asking me the question. Uh,
Yeah.
Listen, I got blessed. I did a lot of stupid things, and God, truly blessed me. But yes, with the advent of Uber, if you get caught driving drunk, this should be a 1 year sentence automatically. With the advent of Uber, there should be automatically 1 year in prison if you're driving drunk. No, 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 no one time off, no two times off. My father, when I was drinking, would never allow me to have the car. And what would he say? I'm not giving you a loaded weapon.
Mm-hmm.
If you get into a car high or drunk, you're not in a sense, you have a loaded weapon that you're moving around. As dangerous as a gun, as dangerous as a bomb. You could take that car and mow down 20 people if you're drunk or high. No, so there's no difference, and it's just an excuse. So I'm not saying because I'm sober. I've always thought this, and I have disagreements with people about this in the 12-step world oftentimes, because my sympathy is with innocent civilians that are getting hit, or that's who my sympathy lies with. Go on. So I hope that helped.
It does, and I think that the most important part of what you said is that it's actually not about compassion. It's actually not about saying, "Oh, mental health and substance abuse issues." It's saying, "Ah, you fit a demographic that we don't want to punish, so we're going to give this egregious crime a really light sentence." Because you know what? your people, quote unquote, have suffered enough. And so, this is how we're going to make it up to you. So go with God. Thanks for playing. Go hit another cop. Basically,
Well,
what they're doing is they're taking the deterrents and they're flushing them down the toilet.
yeah, and I shared with you the story after the show the other night with you and Mend, um, about how Joe Arpaio saved my life because, and I love Sheriff Joe, and I got to thank
Right.
him for this. And just an amazing man, former sheriff of Maricopa County, America's sheriff, and when I couldn't stay sober, and I remember people in this halfway house I was living in. I know, like when I discuss this, like people look at me. Yes, I was living in a halfway house in Mesa, Arizona, and I remember these people talking about the jail in Mesa, like it was called the Horseshoe, and you're given pink underwear, rotten bologna sandwiches. And then once you're found guilty, you go to tent city. You go to a tent in the middle of the desert. I remember thinking to myself, he's at that point when I couldn't stay sober, I'm not getting in a car. I am not getting in a car. Joe Arpaio was like my uh, lifesaver. I don't know how many lives he saved people, and he gets such a bad name. But when you come out with such harsh messages like that, it does save lives. So
I mean,
there,
that's what I'm talking. When it comes to deterrence, deterrents aren't we'll make it comfortable for you, we'll give you a life sentence, we'll tell you, hey, we feel bad for you, so don't worry about your crimes. Deterrents are making you feel like doing something is going to have a consequence to it. And when you look at something like what happened here, it's not enough that she drove the wrong way down the street. It's not enough that she hit a cop, by the way. It's not enough because it's important, right? These things might have happened if she'd lost control. These things might have happened if she was too high to know better. A lot of excuses we could give. The thing that we're not mentioning over and over again, which we should really be hitting like a hammer, is that she yelled F these cops. That is an explicit statement of intent. And when you are cognizant enough to have an explicit statement of intent, that's when a 2 year sentence becomes something that actually is untenable, is something that literally is saying, don't worry about the fact that you were intentionally targeting somebody and that you stated why you were doing it. That makes it first degree. That makes it problematic in a way that 2 years simply doesn't cover.
it's also a hate crime, right? I mean,
Oh, interesting.
I mean, well, you're going after a specific group. It's a hate crime,
You're right.
and I mean, and this is an absolute embarrassment. Uh, Listen,
You know
we
what?
are
Hang on.
witnessing.
I
Yeah,
don't
please.
interrupt you. I don't forget what you were about to say because I know it was going to be important. But you just said so. I can't now. I won't be able to shake this. You're right. This isn't necessarily racial. This is ideological because that means that if you are going to commit a crime against police, against order, against symbols of authority, right? That's what's being downgraded. That doesn't fit the current political fashion. So it's not really about race. It's about saying we're flipping right and wrong. We're flipping law and lawlessness. We're flipping justice versus excuses. That's really interesting because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, your people have suffered. And so therefore we're going to, it's not that. It's that you were targeting those that right now it's okay to target because they're the ones who are on the side of ICE, on the side of Trump, on the side of law enforcement. That's not where we are right now. We're cool with those symbols being destroyed. You're right. It's ideological.
And the thing is, we don't know the color of the cop. We don't know the race. I mean, we might. It was a guy who said, um, uh, so there you are. I mean, the soft sentencing is that we're witnessing in our country is catastrophic. But again, I go back to the reparations because I can't think of it in any other way of how you excuse this type of thing. And this doesn't mean like people could bring up cases and cherry pick cases. Remember those white guys that from
Right.
Stanford, right? Those people should have been put in jail for quite a long time. But at the same time, sadly, remember when Rolling Stone did that hit piece on the Duke lacrosse team,
Of course.
ruining people's lives, and they were guilty in the eyes of everybody because they were guilty for being white at Duke. And is an amazing documentary. Everybody should watch. It's called I think it's called I Hate Christian Laettner, and because so you get these are things people don't want to talk about. I love that I have Ben Stein in my life who really encouraged me. This isn't a racist thing. This is just talking about facts and act and talking about the truth. In my humble opinion, I want to move on though to something because I brought this up and I think this is really important. As we've brought up that CBS was bought by Skydance and David and Larry Ellison, and we love the move. And I know I encourage people out there to get active in watching Paramount and CBS. But what they're doing is quite amazing. Bari Weiss is firing almost, I mean, everybody's getting canned at CBS News.
They're calling it a
And
bloodbath.
it's a bloodbath and at CBS News, and this is good stuff. That they've lost X, they might lose TikTok. Yeah, the guardrails are up on all of the social media sites after what they did under Biden, which I hope one day gets investigated. And they're losing it, go on. They're losing the narrative. And
I love Barry Weiss. I've liked Barry Weiss for a very long time, by the way, and I want to make sure it's clear that everyone hears this. Barry Weiss, a centrist. Okay, Barry Weiss, not some rabid right winger we pointed out on a regular basis, but it's important to hear because that's not what the mainstream media is going to tell you. The mainstream media is going to tell you this is her stormtrooping her way through the newsroom and cleaning house of anyone who's not pro-Trump or whatever. Don't forget who she is. Don't forget that this is a queer woman, married to another woman, and basically worked for the New York Times. Was centrist her entire life, and sure, seeing some of the things that are going on have pushed her in a certain direction. So I would say she's probably a little more center right now than she is center left, but. This isn't about ideology. This is about her saying, "Oh, I'm meant to take over a news organization. Maybe that news organization should be accurate." What a random, crazy concept. So she went through, she fired 100 staffers, more are coming, by the way, $2 billion of cost cutting, which means the South Africa office was closed. CBS Mornings Plus gone. CBS Evening News Plus gone. Streaming shows canceled. The entire race and culture unit dismantled or almost completely dismantled. I mean, you're talking about, yes, they called it a bloodbath. You're talking about her basically saying we're going to reset what CBS News is and make it real journalism. That shouldn't be controversial. I say kudos to her.
I say kudos to David Ellison for not, for
Absolutely.
not for not listen, so Taylor Sheridan, this is really nuts. And for people not familiar with Taylor Sheridan, he's created everything on, Yellowstone, Lioness, everything on Amazon Prime, Sicario, the movie,
You're talking about
and
everything. Basically, Paramount is built on the back of Taylor Sheridan. TV.
and and he's gonna rue the day that he decided to take $1 billion from NBC Universal and decide to go over there in 2028. And supposedly he was upset with David Ellison from him wanting to make pro-American stuff. And he said, I don't get political. And that's Taylor Sheridan's choice, 100%. But I want to give you a good big heads up, Mr. Sheridan. You're going to NBC Universal. The reason why your shows work and fit is because they are on a platform that sort of caters to what you're putting out. If you put out Landman on NBC Universal, I mean, think about it, Golan. It's like going into a gay bar with a hot chick. I mean, it looks good, but she's not getting picked up. Okay.
Uh,
And
that's really
that
funny. By the
That's
way,
essentially.
do you want to know? It's interesting you say that because he can't walk into the gay bar with the hot chick. You know why? Because all the hot chicks he created are staying in the other bar. So Paramount actually owns the rights to all of the IP that he created. I mean, and he did, I give the guy a lot of credit, create just he was a hit machine. He was just one thing. Yellowstone, Tulsa King, Mayor of Kingstown, Landman, Lioness. It's really and it's more and more. All the ones. What was the Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren spinoff of the 18 this and the this one that and the 1950 whatever. Like he did them all, and they all were working. And he was drawing movie stars nonstop to be part of this thing, and it was just working regularly. And the list of actors from Stallone to John Hamm to Nicole Kidman on and on, incredible list. But all of that stuff is part of the quote unquote Sheridan verse at Paramount. Everything at NBC Universal has to be new IP. It's like the star athlete leaving his home stadium where he had his prime years, his jersey is known, and now he's going to go to a new place, new
Yeah, they get this
team.
is like giving this is like when in baseball when they give a 31-year-old a 9-year contract for 350 billion for 350
That's
million
right.
dollars. I mean, they're giving him $1 billion, and that's not even counting in the costs of making the
Making the
movies and
shows.
making
That's
the
right.
shows. Right. So you're talking about something that'll cost them $2.5 billion. Anyways, I don't want to get too wonky on people. I just want people to realize what's actually going on in the culture. I think it's so important that people realize that we're starting to gain ground in the culture wars.
Well, and the reason you
And
mention Sheridan specifically leaving is because he was leaving for ideological reasons. He was leaving for political reasons. He's claiming not to be political. He's claiming he doesn't want to make political stuff. But this is a guy who built his entire thing on CIA and cowboys and this on real Americana type of stuff. So if you've built your entire career on that, and then someone comes to you and says, basically, hey, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. And you're like, whoa, I didn't do all that. It's like, we can see what you built here. The spin-offs of the shows that you were making are called things like Marshals, where you're literally, again, supporting law enforcement.
which is
So
great.
it's no, it's what it works. It works. People were hungry for this sort of. They wanted to see Texas oil men. They wanted to see cowboys. They wanted to see CIA agents. They wanted to see American spies. They wanted to see American marshals. They wanted all of this. So for you to now say, no, 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 I'm going to go ahead and blow all that off to go do something that's non-ideological, good luck to you. You do something really well. You want to go do something else? Good luck. Hey, you know what? Michael Jordan's a great athlete. I'm sure his baseball career is going to be aces. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's quite the throwback reference.
Thank you.
Listen, I just think I like offering people hope. And I really think this is a very hopeful thing. I think it's hopeful when you see NFL players coming out and supporting the president or athletes. I think it's very important because this was taboo. This was if you did it, you got canceled. And people are starting to lose that a little bit. People are starting to
Hmm.
fight back against the system. And maybe once again, we can get good movies and good content, and it doesn't have to be done by crowdsourcing and fundraising and all this different stuff. And so good on David Ellison for wanting that. There's a famous story about Stephen J. Cannell, right? The most prolific writer of the
Oh yeah.
80s, created and the late 70s, who created the Rockford Files and so many shows, Wise Guys,
Yeah.
so many of my favorite shows, 21 Jump Street. I mean, the list goes on. But Brandon Tartikoff, the former head of NBC, came up to him and he said, I want a show about America and guns and being proud of the USA. So what did he come up with? The A Team, right? And
One of the
and
all timers. I mean, a team. I mean, you and I both love it when a plan comes together. Thank you, Stephen J. Cannell.
yeah, no, it's and what's funny is he ended up Brandon Tartikoff hated the show, but it did well because that's what people crave. People crave good versus evil. People don't want to go to a movie and have the moral
Absolutely.
equivalence shown to them. and somehow getting back to what we're the time we're living in, there somehow has become this moral equivalence, but especially with the onus and the moral equivalence being on Israel.
Right.
And that's insanity. And I hope people wake up. No, 46 children were not killed yesterday by Israelis. 100 and some odd whatever were not killed by Israelis. Hamas broke the ceasefire agreement. They've broken every phase, well, every phase. They've broken the first phase of
Yeah.
this thing.
But
Let's
they
get
could,
this
what you mean
straight
is they continue to break it over and over and over again.
over and over and over again. And the onus is on them. The onus is on them. The onus is not on Israel. And somehow this got lost. Not somehow. We know how
Yeah,
it
we
got
know how.
lost. We
But
know how, but
the thing that drives me nuts, like I know this is just beating the drum that we already play, but when you are looking at people who are watching what's happening, and I know that some of the information doesn't get to them, that their feeds, quote unquote, are feeding them a narrative, and they're leaving out truth and they're leaving out reality. But when you see that now on camera they're doing what you mentioned earlier, they're digging up bodies, they're reburying bodies, pretending they just found the bodies, obviously lying about what they're talking about. They're delivering chunks of remains that actually were connected to chunks of remains they already gave. They're throwing bodies into caskets and handing them over that have nothing to do with hostages. I mean, they're playing these psychological games, these monstrous games. You see videos of them going into the street and murdering all their own brethren, their own Palestinians, in order to maintain control and power, and do everything they're doing through fear. You see them doing all of this. You see the lies exposed on a daily basis now, even more than before, and it was already happening all the time. So for anyone to still, with all of that said, believe that Israel is the problem. I was on, I think it was X earlier today, and I saw there was some poll. Oh, it was about the polling. It was about the polling in the Palestinian territories and how 90% of them were still super pro Hamas and loved October 7th. And someone in the comments was like, "They're still not as genocidal as the Israelis." It's like, all proof to the contrary. I'm just going to go ahead and put my hands over my ears and go la, 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 because it doesn't fit my narrative. How captured are you? Or how stupid are you? Or how hateful are you to be unable to go, all right, fine, you got me. Like, obviously, I've been wrong this entire time. It's infuriating to me.
I just want to end with this because somebody had sent me a truth about the Fuentes Tucker thing,
Mm.
and somebody's like, "Listen, I love your shows, I love what you do," and they're asking me if I'm America first, and
I love what
and
you
and
do. Are
I,
you America first?
yeah,
Okay.
he's and somebody raised this point, so it's not me. What Tucker did with Nick Fuentes was try and make him mainstream.
Yeah, laundering.
And right. And I really want people to understand that is the goal of bringing on a Nick Fuentes is to do that, is to
Yep.
mainstream him, going on the assumption that people aren't going to look at his background. They're not
Right.
going to look at all the vile things he said. I mean, really, just sickly, vile. Forget about Jews against Charlie Kirk, right? He created the whole movement of groypers, basic trolls to go after Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk was furious when Dinesh D'Souza and wanted to debated Fuentes. And
This is
Josh Hammer put up.
Nick Fuentes literally at one point had as his profile picture him doing the Heil Hitler salute. He is a self-avowed anti-Semite. He is a self-described Holocaust denier. He is a self-described white supremacist figure, and then he's going to normalize him. He's going to platform him, like, and watching these two. joke with each other. I thought you were a CIA. I thought you were a CIA agent. These two guys tickling each other's privates while using phrases like these Zionist Jews or Christian Zionists suffering from brain viruses. Like these are not edgy jokes. These are not cutesy commentary. He is providing a platform, and with Fuentes, an avowed anti-Semite white nationalist sitting right beside him, that is, it's not even, I was going to say coded. It's not even coded. It's just anti-Semitism and Nazism, and he's just mainstreaming it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was really the point, and and that is very scary and it's very frightening. But listen, I want to give people the I don't listen. This isn't my truth, okay? And I don't really look at it. People are like saying, "Well, you're allowed to get your opinion out." If your opinion is a lie, it needs to be called out for what it is, which is a lie. That's
Yeah,
not
that's
debate.
not an
That,
opinion.
Golan and I disagreeing on in the beginning of the show in the sense of our take on Hopos is a
Right.
disagreement. It's a debate where there's different facts. There's different. We're sort. But when you
Yeah.
start going out there and lying, there's no. And he doesn't debate, right? There's nobody that he debates other than
I,
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, and even Ted Cruz, I had to go after Ted Cruz. He also didn't debate Ted Cruz. He deliberately set up an ideological trap that
Yeah.
wasn't about trying to actually have a conversation, and it wasn't about trying to get information to the masses. It was just about trying to trap Ted Cruz into this kind of verbal silliness that he could then go, "Oh, you didn't know that one thing? Well, then everything else I'm going to discount." I mean, it's honestly one of the more disgusting kind of beyond his anti-Semitism, beyond his shilling on behalf of Qatar and everything else. It was disgusting from a like faux journalism perspective. So yeah, no, these people are not honest. This is not an opinion, and I do hear that a lot. Candace is just asking questions, or Tucker is just expressing his opinion. That's his superpower, you guys, is that he seems like he is innocently just positing concepts. I was just, with his little crinkled brow, I just was wondering about this thing that happened, and then he says some wild, crazy, hateful thing. Well, you know what I mean? And he says it, and it seems like, oh, he's wearing like a plaid shirt. It sounds like it might have some value to it. That's what makes him dangerous.
Yeah, no, well said. And I just want to end with this. This brings me no joy. Okay. This is the last thing I want to be talking about. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would have to fight back against certain factions of people who consider themselves MAGA. I never thought there would be a litmus test for MAGA. The whole point of MAGA was a massive tent. Okay. That was the whole point was we're accommodating for everybody's belief. And with that, I thought, I protect Christians, Christians protect me. I protect MAGA, MAGA protects me. I thought it was a symbiotic relationship. What I learned after October 7th, what that for quite a few, that was not the case. You think I don't want to spend time on somebody like MTG? She's not worth the time. The problem is, go on, she's got a huge platform. The problem with Tucker is he's got a massive platform. We're talking about tens of millions that are listening to him. With Fuentes, this is
Why
the
do you
last
think
thing.
these people are paid off? Because when you look at and whether Candace is paid off or whether she's just crazy, although I think she truly is paid off, just based on some of the inside information that I've received. But if you're looking at Candace and you're looking at Tucker, you're looking at the Nick Fuentes is kind of a different animal, but a lot of these people, MTG, these people who have millions of followers, that's why you target them, because they have this sheen, this veneer of legitimacy, and then they say the wild stuff, but they're the ones who, at least initially, can get away with it because their audience is already trained like seals to clap along with whatever they say. So when they make that hard turn, despite Tucker, if you look again, look at his history, he's 180 degrees from where he was. And again, not long enough ago that this was a slow ideological shift. This was a sudden shift. And when you think about that shift, and everyone who's, again, just trained to agree and trained to just nod along with whatever he says, it's easy to then indoctrinate them with whatever it is that whoever's paying Tucker and whoever's paying Candace and whoever's paying MTG to indoctrinate them into the next thing as well.
Well said. And on that note, listen again, this is the last thing I want to do. And honestly, it hurts us. It hurts our viewership, it hurts our listenership, it hurts our
It's
posts
true. It's
because
true.
because we're not in the mainstream. So if anybody thinks this is some sort of clickbait, I'm the stupidest clickbaiter of all time. Okay. I'm the dumbest clickbaiter of all time. If you think this is some sort of gag or scam or I am the biggest moron of all time. And with my
It's like what
fellow,
you said about I tell everybody I think it's so funny and sadly true that like how good would your dating life be if you just towed the line and were like I'm anti-Israel, I'm
yeah.
pro Tucker, like all the stuff that's easy to say but obviously false. Like life would be easier for you. You
Oh
would
my
be
God.
the
Like if I
worst
woke up and said I was a
if
Democrat,
this was your plan.
yeah. If I woke up and said I'm a Democrat or anything else, I hate Trump or whatever it is, I love Trump and I love the MAGA movement. I feel like it's our job to protect it. And I feel like we're the gatekeepers. Tucker's not the gatekeeper. MAGA's not, I mean, MTG's not the gatekeeper. We're the
Yeah.
gatekeepers. Okay. We're the gatekeepers and we have to stay strong. On that note, I want to thank everybody that's been listening and following. I want to thank Golan for staying up so late. He's got a busy travel day ahead. He's got to travel. And remember, Afrin up your nose when you have a cold and you get on a plane.
All right,
Okay.
there you go.
Two snorts in each nose dries you out. I don't want you bopping your drums.
Yeah,
That's how
don't
much I love.
say you never learned anything from this show.
Yeah, that's how much I love you. And I thought this was common sense, but I thought this was commonly known. But my mother, she's the one that got me into it. And the one time I didn't, well, there was a bad reaction. Okay. Thank you, everybody. You can find us everywhere at thedailycheatsheet.com. That's thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.